It's that time again, throwback, amp review and test. Let's see what's in the box. Big shout out to Scott Dielbeck over at Southern Thunder Car Audio for sending this my way. The Sunkyong 120 watt by 120 watt Pro Series amplifier. You guys may notice looks a lot like an old school Yamaha. Yeah, several of the Yamaha models here, as well as Nakamichi. This amp looks to be a knockoff of those. But let's look at the 1987 Car Stereo Review Buyer's Guide. Find out if there's any more about this amp. And here we see it on the left. Sunkyong had several amps listed, including the SA240P, $290, 120 watts average 4 ohms or 2 ohms, and that $290 back then equates to around $780 in 2023 money. Let's bring out the Orion Blue Book. We can also see this amp was listed from 1987 to 1992, and we believe the later models switched from the Sunkyong to SKE, and maybe it's the stigma of the brand name, not sure, but thanks to Wade for this picture of the SKE. And here let's take a closer look at the Sunkyong 120 by 120. Yeah, it says it right on the amp, so it must do it, and it is a Pro Series, of course. It does have some cobwebs and stuff. I believe Scott got this off of shopgoodwill.com, and here you can see on one end of the amp it does have a 30 amp fuse. If we unscrew this, you will see it's just a standard glass style fuse. This type of fuse holder was kind of standard back in the day. A lot of amps use this. We move over, we see the 12 volt ground and remote. These are via screw down terminals, and then the speakers are via the push terminals, which you don't really see in car amps that much. Level control as well as RCA inputs. And then we flip it over, you can see Sunkyong, there's the name. Also the model number SA240P, again 120 by 120. Says it on the amp, so it must do it, right? Well, you know we're going to find out later in the video. On the bottom, it does have a sticker which gives us some additional specs. Again, 120 watts, 4 or 2 ohms, 20 to 20 kilohertz, 90 dB signal-to-noise ratio, less than 0.05% total harmonic distortion. Also gives us the slew rate and the dimensions. We'll get to the dimensions later in the video. So here we have the amp, and of course, comes from Shop Goodwill. We have to clean it up. Make sure, we get rid of all the cobwebs and the dirt and everything. So brush it off first, then we get some cleaner here and get between each of the fins. Make sure we get it as clean as possible for showing on the video with you guys. We don't want you to show you a dirty amp. Now, as far as the dimensions go, 13.2 inches on the length, 6.3 inches for the width, and 2.3 inches for the height. This amp was purchased in unknown condition as far as working, but luckily it did work when we powered it up. So now we're going to hook it up to the amplifier dyno to find out its true power. Years and years later, on the left, you'll see the power output in watts. The middle, the ohm low, the right, the voltage of the dyno. We'll also have the clamp indicator so we can calculate efficiency on this 2-channel Class AB amplifier.
This here's my favorite part.
First test we'll run is 4 ohms stereo. It is rated 120 watts by 2. We're sending at the 1 kilohertz tone into the amp. Certified test takes us up to 1% distortion. And yeah, we're a little shy there. 82 and 73 watts right at 14.3 volts. Reset the dyno to go up to the clipping point to see if we get any difference here. Again, 1 kilohertz tone. And we get 82 and 73, virtually identical. Now let's see if it does any more using the dynamic test. This is the 1 kilohertz IHF test. Sends a pulse tone into the amp. Do get over 100 watts per channel, still not that 120, 111 and 105. Now taking the efficiency for the certified part, 44%. Ouch! Not very good at all. Now we're going to try an ohm low we don't typically show, which is 2.67 ohms, because we don't really ever have a need to do this, but we figured this amp only does 4 ohms and 2 ohms, so why not split it down the middle? 91 and 78 watts, right at 14.3, 1 kilohertz. We did skip the uncertified test since they were so close before. We figured it would be very close to the certified test. And here you go with the dynamic test. We do get over to 120 watts, 134 and 126. However, we do take another dip in efficiency at 37%. Ouch, about as efficient as a Ram TRX pickup truck. Next up, 2 ohms stereo, again rated 120 by 2. Certified test here at 1 kilohertz, and again, we're shy, 89 and 74 at 14.25 volts. Dynamically, though, we're easily able to hit that 120 by 2, actually 140 watts by 2, closing in on 150, 149, and 142. And efficiency-wise, get ready for this. 30%, that's one of the lowest efficiency numbers I've ever measured. But hey, the amp did work. Also did test at 8 ohms. You can see this. Pause it if you want to see all the different results. And overall, I was surprised that it worked. So the fact that it didn't do its power was not all that shocking. But notice, on eBay, I found some speakers by the same company. And yes, I had to get them in. It was about $30 shipped or so. Figured you guys will want to see this. Let's take them out of the box here. These are 5 1/4 inch round coaxial speakers. Also came with the hardware, but unfortunately did not have the manual instruction guide in the box, which is a big shame. On the back, you can see 90 watts max, 20 ounce magnet, 4 ohm impedance, made in Korea. And yeah, it's unusual to see a 5 1/4 with such a big magnet, especially old school. But anyway, so these pull off from the grill, and here you can see it says on the box it's a piezo tweeter, but it looks like a cone tweeter to me. So not really sure what's up with that. 1 inch voice coil. It does have foam surround. Now I did pull out a 5 1/4 inch from another brand. This is typically what you see with 5 1/4s. They're not round as far as mounting. It looked like a 6 1/2 mounting, but it did not fit in a 6 1/2 inch mounting hole. Good old Sunky hooked up to the Sunky 5 1/4s. Gotta try some music. See how bad it sounds. Let's try a little Ice and Fire.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh.
Just to show, this is the amp that's on. Turn it back on. How about Smoke Jacket Blues and 40-year-old speakers? As fun as it was playing with these antiquated Samyang speakers to match the Samyang amp, I've just got to get out the ELAC so we can see what this amp really sounds like. Because I can tell you, these speakers, as cool as they are with those huge magnets on the back, they sound horrible. So let's try the other speakers, see how it sounds. As promised, we have the ELAC bookshelf speakers hooked up, and yes, there is damage to this one. Fell off the table a while back, but it does not affect the performance. I was going to replace it, but just haven't got around to it. So let's listen to Ice and Fire through the ELACs. All right, we got to do some Smoke Jacket Blues. just because it sounded so good, let's do Smokey's Lounge. Next step, of course, is to take the bottom panel off so we can see the insides of this amplifier. Again, 35 years old. And let's see here, once we take the bottom plate off, you will notice there's a piece of paper in here. That's just to protect anything from shorting out. And unfortunately, they did have the circuit board upside down, and I wasn't able to get it out. So I took a picture from Wade in our old school stereo group. Thanks, Wade, for showing this. There you can see the amp. And there you have it. Test of Sunkyong amplifier and speakers. Thanks again to Scott from Southern Thunder Car Audio. Big D, I'm out.